Not a big podcast listener. Now, clips, obviously, you see clips everywhere, right? So I can get an idea of format of show, different types of shows, without like give me the cliff notes. But no, I don't necessarily need to listen to a whole podcast episode to get an idea of how to run a podcast. And also doing, right? Doing. I've done it for so long. But when I first started, no. No. And also because let's talk about that for a second. So the podcast game has changed so much. Before it was an audio only experience, and now it's a video. Right? It's audio video. And so in the very beginning, yeah, no, I listening to like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever and listening to a whole thing, no, I was not doing that. But now I'll sit down and watch,
Well,
right?
I think
I'm going to watch.
you blew my whole hypothesis out of the water. So I'm going to
Oh, okay.
rephrase my answer and say, no, you don't have to read a book to write a book. You know,
Just no. No, you don't need to read a book to write a book. Okay, now listen, the reason I'm saying this because I know there's a lot of people out there. They're book readers, okay? There's some book nerds out there. We love you. I love you, okay? And you hear especially a lot of CEOs and a lot of very, very successful people. They always talk about reading. You got to read so many books a year and all that. I'm just not a big reader, and maybe I need to pick that up. Matter of fact, I interviewed someone who that's what he does is he helps people read more books and stuff like that. Anyways, but yeah, I've just never been a big reader. Unless it was when I was a juvenile and I was locked up in juvenile detention facilities. I read The Hobbit. Okay, that was a good book. No, I've just and not that I don't enjoy when I have read books. I've enjoyed reading books.
Okay.
When I have read books, but I guess I just haven't. I guess maybe I'm that generation where we just I don't know what it is.
Well, okay. So I think a lot of people read books to get information, right? Like I said, they solve people's problems. So if you feel like you can get your problem solved,
I go to YouTube.
And that's what I'm saying. You go to YouTube University, you get what you need, and you can keep it stepping. But I think I don't know. It's just maybe it's a type of person. Because for me, it's like I can watch a YouTube video all day, but I feel like it's not going to stick with me if I don't read the book. Mind you, there are different formats of book consumption. I'm huge on Audible. Like I listen to, because I read for work, it's really difficult for me to read for leisure, just because sometimes I get tired of reading. So when I want to consume a book, I don't have time to read it. I just pop on my audiobook, listen, and move through the day.
There you go. Now that is something I have done. Okay. That is something. Audiobook. So I've got Audible, and so I've listened to a lot of books. But like actually, well, not really. Not really. Not in my opinion. It's not the same. To me, it's not. Like opening up a book and like actually reading it, flipping pages and stuff. That's like listening to the Bible versus pulling it out and reading it. I don't think it's the same personally. I mean, it's close. I don't feel like it sinks in as much as, to your point, I think when you actually read it and flip the page and you got a physical book, like it does, there is a retention there. Here, as an example, so I'm in financial services. When I was taking my securities licenses, right? I remember my partner telling me like, yo, because I was watching the videos, right? That was teaching me watching the videos. And it just was not sinking in. I was failing all these little practice tests. I was just failing it. And he's like, man, if you don't open up that book, you're not going to make it in this business. He's like, you have to open up that book. Sure enough, I was like, I really didn't want to, because that book was like this thick. It was like a phone book, okay? It was just intimidating looking at this big old thing. I mean, oh, God. Ugh. And I opened that thing up. But sure enough, it's when I read it, And okay, I think some of this comes from me being ADD, ADHD, whatever, right? I have to read it over and over and over. Anything I read, I have to read over and over and over for it finally to sink in. Like when I'm reading the Bible, I'll read a scripture and then I'm like, what did I just read? I don't even remember. Hold on, let me read it again. So I have to read a book 5 times for it to actually
Mm,
sink in.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.